Chapter 9. Encounter. Alya, don't you think it's about time that we get everyone for the run together? We still have plenty of time. I don't know. It's a lot of people. Although she knew in her mind that Masachika was correct, Alisa pressed her lips together and responded with silence, but before even another second went by, a committee member called out to them. Sorry to bother you, but do you think you could lend us a hand? Be right there. What? Alya. Masachika tried to stop Alisa, who eagerly accepted the request, but she cut him off in a harsh tone. I'll be right back. Okay. I'll get everyone ready for the run in the meantime. Thanks. As Masachika didn't even attempt to argue, a tinge of guilt crept over Alisa while she hurried off to help. Sigh. What am I doing? She inwardly scoffed at her own irrational behavior, but she couldn't bear the thought of seeing Maria right now. She couldn't stop thinking about how they looked together during the scavenger hunt, how they held hands, how closely their bodies touched while they raced toward the finish line. Every time she thought about it, a strange mix of anger and disgust churned within her. HMPH. She understood that Masachika had no choice but to carry Maria, because it was a scavenger hunt, and those were the rules. Neither Masachika nor Maria did anything wrong. She knew that, but she still couldn't shake this frustration. When she saw Masachika running while leading Maria by the hand, she just wanted to shout, "Let go of him." Alisa thought back to how Masachika took her hand while they danced at the school festival last year and how he took her hand as they ran through the night of the summer festival, but it was as if Maria had tainted those memories. A feeling of irrational, dark rage burned within her like never before, and she hated herself for ever feeling this way toward her own sister. I know I'm being irrational, that it's all in my head. Moshe didn't do anything wrong. Maria didn't do anything wrong. She didn't do anything wrong. But still. Come on. What was that look on Moshe's face? She was all over him, too. The indecency. Alisa's intense sense of chastity sounded an alarm while she thought back to the smile on Maria's face as she clung to Masachika. Girls shouldn't just let boys touch them like that. You're only supposed to let boys who you really trust and care about do that. I can't believe she would let him do that, even though she already has someone she likes. And Yuki. I can't believe her. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got until it eventually spilled over onto Yuki for being the one to force Masachika to carry her sister in the first place. She knows that Moshe has a boyfriend already, so why would she do that? I know they're the rules, but still. And now that I think about it, Yuki always has her hands all over Masachika, too. Come on, Masachika. Do you not know that it's okay to tell people no? Unable to quell the growing fire within her, Alisa furiously shoved the large rope into the gym storage room, as if to extinguish her burning anger. Thanks, Alisa. I really appreciate this. It's fine. I'm a member of the student council, after all. Oh, right. Anyway, good luck during the run. I'll be cheering you on. Although taken aback by the unexpected encouragement from an older sports day committee member, Alisa managed to thank her with a smile. However, as she turned to leave the gym storage room and head back to the schoolyard, her legs began to strangely feel like lead. While taking out her anger on inanimate objects had temporarily cooled her down, she was now slowly being consumed by a growing sense of self-loathing. Sigh. I should go wash my hands. Glancing down at her somewhat dirty hands, Alisa decided to use them as an excuse to stall and head to the nearby restroom. After finishing up her business, she reluctantly began to make her way back to the schoolyard, when she suddenly spotted an elderly woman wandering alone far away from the parents' seating area. What is she doing all the way out here? After tilting her head slightly and confirming that there was no one else around, Alisa decided to approach the elderly woman. Excuse me? Are you looking for something? She hesitantly asked, but when the old woman swiftly turned around, her eyes widened. She looked to be in her 60s, dressed in a brightly colored blouse and a loose-fitting floral long jacket, which was a bit flashy but still fashionable. Combined with her gentle and kind demeanor, she gave the impression that she was some sort of refined gentlewoman. Is she married to some big-shot CEO around here or something? It was a reasonable assumption, given the school they were at. Oh my. Muttered the old woman, as if she were a bit surprised. Ah, my apologies. I was looking for a vending machine. Oh, there's one right over there. Follow me. Are you sure? Thank you so much. Alisa felt a pang of guilt as she realized the elderly woman had taken her suggestion as a genuine act of kindness, even though the truth was that she simply wasn't ready to face Masachika yet. Therefore, she began to head over to a nearby vending machine with a heavy heart. Today ended up being so hot, so I was really wanting something cold to drink. Yes, it really is hot for autumn, right? I suppose climate change is making summers longer. The elderly woman continued to speak with a gentle smile, as if she simply loved chatting, seemingly unconcerned that Alisa couldn't think of anything thoughtful to say in return. One of my grandchildren has been telling me how students have to keep going back and forth between the new and the old summer uniforms lately. Yes, my class is the same. We have 2 different types of summer uniforms, so there are still a lot of people who change, depending on the weather. But you have to switch to your winter uniform in November, right? I really hope it gets a little colder by then. Me too. Perhaps due to the lady's gentle demeanor, Alisa found her relatively easy to talk to, as they walked all the way to the vending machine. Thank you so much. Let me buy you something for helping me. No, thank you. I'm fine. Don't be shy. Come, now. Pick whatever you'd like. Really, I'm fine. After a few rounds of back and forth, Alisa gave in and pointed at the cheapest bottled water in the machine. I guess I'll go with this, then. Oh my. Are you sure? Why not go with juice or something? I can't. I have a match coming up. Ah, that makes sense. But then shouldn't you get a sports drink instead? They leave a sweet aftertaste in my mouth and make my throat feel sticky, so I'd prefer water. I see. Well, I don't want to be pushy, so if that's what you want, that's what you get, replied the elderly woman as she inserted money into the machine and began to select some drinks. Grandpa wanted a cola. Here, let me help. Why, thank you, dear. Although a bit puzzled by this so-called grandpa's choice, Alisa pressed one of the buttons on the top for cola. She then grabbed her bottled water as well and began to fidget with it in her hands. Should I drink this here? But without even reaching a conclusion, Alisa ended up walking back the way she came with the old woman, missing whatever chance she had to say goodbye and return to Masachika. Thank you so much for your kindness. Don't mention it. It's my duty, as a member of the committee. You're so sweet, and beautiful, to boot. I would be thrilled if my grandson had a nice, young lady like you in his future. Haha. Oh my. I apologize for my teasing. It's fine. Besides, I'm sure a lady as wonderful as you has plenty of suitors already. Do you have anyone you like? I don't really think about stuff like that. Oh. Well, it's nothing you have to rush into. Alisa felt a sense of relief when she heard the old woman's casual remark. The loneliness and alienation she had felt at the amusement park and that gnawing anxiety of being left behind seemed to dissipate, as if a cool breeze had blown past her. Maybe she would have an answer to what's been bothering me. Following her intuition, Alisa almost unconsciously found herself confiding her troubles to this elderly woman, whose name she didn't even know. I don't understand what love is. How is it any different from affection? The elderly woman analyzed Alisa's expression while she hesitantly uttered those words. Then, as if she had seen something in Alisa's profile, she faced forward and cheerfully replied, "That's a difficult question. Heck, I'm old, and I still don't even completely understand how to explain it." What? Really? Even though she was married and already had grandchildren? Alisa's gaze was filled with disbelief while the elderly woman smiled as she continued to face forward. Of course, I know love. But I don't know how to define it. After all, everyone views love differently. In the end, it seemed all Alisa was going to get was this vague answer, but just as her heart began to fill with disappointment, the elderly lady casually remarked, "In fact, I don't even think love refers to simply one feeling. Isn't love just love? But love makes you feel so much, doesn't it?" As Alisa raised a questioning eyebrow, the old woman calmly continued, "You can feel admiration, respect, friendship, and of course, you can feel affectionate, like you mentioned a moment ago. Some people even experience obsession and resentment. And to be crude for a moment, it is nothing more than sexual desire for many. A sexual desire. But no matter what you feel, it's still love, right? At least, that's what I believe." It honestly wasn't an idea that Alisa could easily nod to and agree with. To her, friendship and respect were completely different from love, and she couldn't help but tilt her head in confusion at the idea that obsession and hatred could also be a type of love. Isn't love more pure? Something magical and beautiful? A vague counterargument arose in her mind, But the elderly lady's interpretation was surprisingly refreshing to Alisa, who was still searching to uncover the true nature of love. She knew of attachments like friendship and respect, so if love was born from the accumulation and heightening of such attachments, then perhaps, someday, she would be able to understand it. I learned a lot today. Haha. Really? I'm glad. But, well, this is merely my opinion, so don't think too hard about it, okay? Said the elderly woman, smirking and making Alisa smile as well. They continued their exchange, and before long, they had made their way to the parents' seating area. Anyway, I should get. But before Alisa could tell the woman goodbye, oh, Ace. What are you doing with Alisa Kujou? Hearing a familiar voice calling her name from somewhere behind and to the side, Alisa jerked her head around in surprise, where she found a thin old man standing on a plastic picnic blanket while looking straight at her, making her scowl. Heh. Wait. Why you Masachika's? Oh, you remember me. I apologize for not formally introducing myself last time we met. I'm Masachika's grandpa, Tomohisa Kuze. It's a pleasure to see you. Which meant, Alisa looked back to see the elderly woman covering her mouth while she laughed. My apologies. I should have introduced myself. My name is Ace Kuze. Why you It was only then that Alisa realized what had just happened, instantly filling her mind with despair. Masachika's grandmother? What? Hold on. Did I just seriously ask his grandmother for advice about love? On the verge of having a mental breakdown, her brain desperately tried to escape this reality, making her notice something completely unrelated. Hold up. Are they dressed in matching outfits? This elderly couple put on matching outfits before going out. Alisa screamed inwardly the instant it dawned on her that Tomohisa was also wearing a brightly colored shirt and a flashy floral jacket. Of course, it wasn't a bad thing. She even found it stylish and enjoyed seeing how close they were. Nevertheless, there was no way she would ever go outside with her own grandparents if they were dressed like that. Then, while looking at the elderly woman, or rather, at Ace, she was shockingly struck with yet another realization. Wait. When she first saw me, she finally understood why this older woman looked at her with such surprise earlier. At the time, she didn't put much thought into it, since she figured that the lady was simply surprised to see a girl with silver hair and blue eyes. But she realized who I was the moment we met. She stared hard at Ace, who simply gave her a slightly apologetic smile, and that alone told Alisa everything she needed to know. She was overwhelmed by a fit of misplaced anger, followed by an even greater sense of shame. A voiceless cry escaped her lips as she trembled uncontrollably, when she suddenly spotted the woman seated beside Tomohisa. Hold on. Don't tell me that's Masachika's mom. The passing hunch made her jump, before she was struck with a sense of unease, as if something were off. But his parents. Although Alisa had visited Masachika's apartment numerous times, he was the only one there. She suddenly thought back to the story she'd heard when Masachika was sick, and her brow furrowed, when her eyes met the woman's. Alisa felt a sense of déjà vu when she looked at the woman's face. Oh, this is. Noticing Alisa's gaze, Tomohisa turned to the woman beside him to say something, but before he could even get a word out, the woman promptly stood and bowed slightly. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Yuki Suu's mother, Yumi. Oh, you're Yuki's. Nice to meet you. I'm Alisa Mikhailovna Kujou. I'm in the student council with Yuki. Yes, I've heard all about you, Yumi timidly replied while averting her gaze. That was when Alisa realized why this woman seemed so familiar. Now it makes sense. She looks so much like Yuki. Unlike Yuki, her mother's expression was somehow lacking in vitality or perhaps confidence, but they did share a lot of features. Nevertheless, this realization only led to yet another question. But why are Masachika's grandparents hanging out with Yuki's mom? Tomohisa suddenly cackled. I found Yumi all by herself earlier, so I invited her to join us. Oh, replied Alisa, still unable to shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. I get that they're childhood friends, but why are his grandparents this close with her mother? Is that normal? Confused, Alisa was at a loss for words as Yumi fell silent, until a familiar voice called out to her, Alya. We should probably get going. When she looked up, she saw Masachika walking toward her, waving hesitantly. He must have spotted her silver hair and rushed over, but when he got closer, he suddenly noticed the two people standing near Alisa and frowned. Grandma. Grandpa. What is going on? His gaze then shifted to the woman standing next to them, and the air suddenly grew cold. Masachika. His eyes widened and his expression twisted, startling Alisa. She began following his gaze until she saw Yumi looking back at Masachika with a similar shocked expression. What? What's going on? Alisa glanced back and forth between the two of them, completely bewildered, but the tense standoff eventually ended when Masachika looked away. Although it had only lasted for about 5 seconds, the bizarre atmosphere made it feel like an eternity. Come on. Everyone's waiting for us over there. Oh, right. Bye. Have fun. I hope we get to see you again soon. Masachika. Let's all have lunch together later, okay? I'm good. I'm going to have lunch with my friends, bluntly replied Masachika as he walked away without even looking back at Tomohisa. Alisa immediately followed him, alarmed by his unusual behavior. Masachika, why? But Alisa swallowed those words the instant she caught up and saw the look on his face. It was a storm of intense emotions, a mix of rage, resentment, and sorrow hid beneath the surface of his skin, and it was a far cry from the usual nonchalant Masachika who never showed his true emotions, leaving her speechless. He didn't even have it in him to try to hide his emotions, not even before Alisa's gaze. Even this was so unlike him, and that left her speechless. What can I? But I can't. Words swirled around in her head and throat, but nothing came out. She knew she had to say something, but what? Nothing came to mind. And that was why, without even saying a word, Alisa pressed the bottled water she was holding against Masachika's cheek. That's cold. He flinched, stopped in his tracks, and pulled away from the newly purchased bottle of water. But when he looked at her with furrowed brows, Alisa blurted out the first thing that came to mind. I don't think you should talk to your grandfather like that. After stumbling over her words, she felt embarrassed by what she had said. A few seconds of awkward silence then passed between them, when Masachika let out a small, amused chuckle. Yeah, you're right. I guess I should have lunch with him from time to time, replied Masachika in his usual humorous tone as his expression softened. Although she was relieved, a sense of unease still lingered in Alisa's heart, since she still had so many unanswered questions. Why did he react that way when he saw Yuki's mother? What had happened between them? She wanted to know. She wanted to know and say something to make him feel better, but she decided to wait. Because he promised that he'd tell me one day, and that was why she was going to wait until the day Masachika would tell her everything. Until then, she had to focus on becoming a more reliable partner, someone he could trust enough to share his pain with. And that's why I can't lose. And there was something else that Alisa had to tell him as well. That was why she had to win the run. Check it out. Alisa's here. What took you so long? Hey, Alya. Yo. Her allies were waiting for her. Nonoa, Sayaka, Hikaru, and Tokishi. I'm sorry I'm late. What? We're so on time. Maria and Elena arrived next. And then, it appears we're last to arrive. Samaya appeared, serene and confident, her chest held high, with her signature spiral curls bouncing with each step. As Alisa greeted her with a smile, she returned the gesture both elegantly and powerfully. Glad you could make it, Violet. It's Samaya, she hissed with a sharp glare. It all started 2 weeks prior in the classroom after school, when they were discussing who to ask for help. Do you think we could ask Samaya Kiryuin for help? Wondered Alisa. I think she'd help. She seems to have really taken a liking to you, too, said Masachika. What? Since when? Remember when she came to apologize after the school festival? Near the end of the Autumn Heights Festival, Samaya visited the school festival committee's headquarters with Yushu. There, she explained the situation to the student council president, vice president, and student council before ending the apology with a bow. She also took the opportunity to apologize individually to Alisa as well. But, you didn't do anything you need to apologize for. You had nothing to do with what happened, and it didn't ruin our performance, either. In fact, our show was a huge success. If anything, I should be thanking you for helping us stop the incident from getting any worse, argued Alisa while she bowed in return. Samaya smiled contently at the sight and even ended up telling her, if you ever need any help, Please do not hesitate to ask. Well, she did say to just ask if I ever needed any help, and I genuinely planned on asking her for help if I ever needed it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she likes me. I think that's exactly what it means. Violet stands by everything she says, so she wouldn't ever say something if she didn't mean it. Really? Alisa tilted her head, her expression a mix of joy and doubt, while Masachika stroked his chin, wearing a faint smile. Anyway, if we get Violet's complete support, then we might get all the sisters of the 4 seasons. The what? Oh, the disciplinary committees, the girls' kendo club's famous sisters. They're not really sisters, but they're the 4 top members, excluding the captain, Chisaki. In other words, the vice-captain, the senpu, Jiho, and Chukan. Violet is the vice-captain and essentially their older sister. Anyway, they might help us, and getting all 4 of them means they can form an entire team by themselves. Both their reputation and their fighting skills are top-notch as well. Oh, now that I think about it, you've seen them before. You know, the group that apprehended that guy during the firecracker incident. And so, Alisa gathered the best members she could find. 3 female students appeared after Samaya, lining up on each side of her, while posing. Samaya angled her body the same way, then snapped her fingers, cueing a lively girl with pigtails on the right to boldly puff out her chest and state, "I am Shinbashi." Following her, the tomboyish girl on the far right covered one eye and exclaimed, "Kiku Umari." Furthermore, the girl with glasses on the opposite side pushed up her glasses and roared, "Hiragi Karasawa." Finally, Samaya fluffed up her ringlets and announced, "Samaya Kiryuin." And in closing, they all cried in unison, "We are the sisters of the 4 seasons." All that was missing from their grand entrance was an explosion in the background. Meanwhile, Sayaka nodded slowly in admiration and even began to applaud, prompting Tokishi to join her, even though he wasn't actually sure why they were clapping. "You, Nonoa, still got that niceness on you, huh? Can I touch it?" 50,000 yen. That's highway robbery. How long do I get? 2 seconds. Seconds. Do you take credit cards? Are you seriously going to pay? Interjected Hikaru as Elena continued to harass Nonoa. Hey, Mosha. I can see your stomach. Unbelievable. Mosha adjusted her clothes while Masachika awkwardly looked away. Then, after taking one last look at her allies gathered around her, Alisa muttered, "I think I may have made a mistake."